And welcome to Monday. It is another Monday. We only have a few of these left this year. In fact, this one enters into a short week for all of us. Well, for all those in the workplace, this is a short week. We're going to be here a couple of days and some on Wednesday. This week, I'm going to have today, and I'm going to have Talk It Out Tuesday tomorrow. And then I won't have any more broadcasts this week. Going to have some family time. And just enjoy that opportunity to be with them a little bit. So where are you going? Anybody going anywhere for the holidays? COVID is in crisis once again, and just wondered if anybody's going anywhere. I know some of you may have family coming in and enjoying that opportunity. So once again, thank you for joining me on this Monday of Thanksgiving week. Lots of things going on, a lot of things happening. I want to talk today about when God gets weird. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced God being weird or getting weird, but if you're reading along in the reading plan with us this year, whether you're in D group or not, if you are reading along in the reading plan, this week opens up with a funky little book, Hosea. That's not a little book. It's got several chapters in it, but it is an intriguing little situation. Now, we've only asked you to read the first 3 chapters. You're more than welcome, obviously, to read the rest, but the reading plan does the first 3, and it's because it helps us set the tone of what the whole point of Hosea is. Now, the larger picture of Hosea is that Israel is going into exile. Judah is going to be spared for a little while. Hosea is a prophet to the northern kingdom. And so, speaking to Israel's spiritual adultery, God asks him, and this is where it gets weird. God asks Hosea, hey, I want you to go marry a prostitute. Excuse me, what? And this is so weird. In Hosea 1:2, it says, when the Lord first spoke to Hosea, he said this to him, go and marry a woman of promiscuity and have children of promiscuity, for the land is committing blatant acts of promiscuity by abandoning the Lord. Now, I try to put myself into the character positions in Scripture to try to have a better understanding of what it is that God's saying, because you cannot and you should not ever take Scripture out of context. It's very important that we try to understand what is it that God is trying to say to them at first. I mean, what's God saying to the people that are reading this for the very first time? What truth is there? And then you take that truth and you apply it over to now. Same truth. Now, the way we apply that and our current circumstances might be different, but you can't get away from the reality. We've got to look at what the first truth is and what truth is being portrayed here. Hosea is being asked that he and his family become the object lesson that Israel's going to watch and learn or fail to learn from. Now, that's a big ask. Many of you know I'm very protective of my family, protective of the things of them and for them, and try to spare them all kinds of things. My wife and I have been together 26 years, and we are coming up on 25 years in full-time ministry together. We started Easter of 96. So this coming Easter in 21, we'll finish 25 years in ministry, full-time ministry together. And over the years, we have tried to shelter and shield our children from all kinds of things. And trust me, in church work, there's all kinds of things our kids just don't need to know. Our kid, just things that they don't understand, they don't need to know, they don't need to be a part of. But there came a point in their life, like it did in my own life. My dad was a pastor, and there came a point when I was old enough that there were squabbles going on at the church. Welcome to Baptist life, apparently. There were squabbles going on at the church, and there was a business meeting, and it was going to get ugly. And my dad who at the time they didn't have the pastor be the moderator. They had a different person set up to be the moderator of business meetings. Mom and Dad, they finished the evening service and they went home, and Dad said, you ought to come home. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're having a business meeting. The curiosity factor was going to kill this cat. What was going to happen? And I'm like, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what they're going to say. He said, it's going to get ugly. You just need to come home. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I want to see what he said. Fine, whatever. And so I stuck around to my own regret. I stuck around while they decided the fate of my family. And that's what I'll say. I think I was, what year was that? That was probably 84. No, it was 86. I was 15, 16 years old. I was like, hey, I can handle this. No, bro, let me tell you, when the church folk get an itch to get rid of the pastor, there's no stopping them. I mean, it's like a kid in a candy store. They just go nuts. And once the devil gets a foothold in that mess, there's just no stopping them. And they just went after. I mean, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. My dad's not perfect. I'm not perfect. But the stuff they said at that meeting, I mean, it was tremendous, and it affected me. I didn't really even recognize it at the time, but it affected me. And it's trust issues I still have in life at times. Fast forward, I've got my own kids and have served churches that are loving and kind, and also can be harmful at times. I mean, it's just when people get together and they get something on their mind, it can turn into something that's difficult for kids to handle, and that's just real. And here, Hosea is being asked. I want you to put your family in the spotlight. In essence, I want your family to be fish in a fish bowl that everybody can come by and tap on that glass. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Hey, why don't you move? Everybody can just tap on that glass. They can overfeed. They can not feed. They can overheat the water. They can cool the water down. They can let algae build up in the water. They can kill you. They can let you live. I want you to put your family on, be the spectacle, the object lesson. Man, I can't imagine. But in the same time, that's by and large, that's how it works, isn't it? I mean, this is how it works. Pastors are judged by how well their kids behave. Are you judged how well your kids behave at your job? No, but many times we are. Because for some reason, our family's supposed to be different. Now, I'm not on a rampage or a rant. I'm just saying it's true. It's the way it is. And here he's supposed to go and marry a prostitute. Now, let's get real for a minute. There's not a church alive today. Not a Baptist church anyway. We're too conservative. There's not a Baptist church out there going to go bring a guy on that has a prostitute for a wife. I mean, recent prostitute. Hey, we just got married. Oh, that's nice. Now, where'd you get your education? Well, I went to the seminary, and I'm following Jesus the best of my ability. Okay, and tell us about your wife. Well, she was a prostitute just until last year. Whoa, what? You're not going to get that call back. That's the last interview you had at that place. I mean, come on, this is weird. God has asked Hosea to do a weird thing. I mean, it's weird today. It's weird then. I mean, this was not something that should have happened. This is not normal. And God asked Hosea, I need you to step out of normal and just follow me for a little while. Really? Hosea is obedient. Obedient. He goes and marries Gomer, a prostitute. What do we do with that? I mean, what do we do with that? I mean, we just walk right over that, Oh, well, it's for a higher cause. Okay. What kind of grace and mercy do we allow one another in our life too? Because, wow. And then he goes and he names his kids. Can you imagine being the kids of Hosea and Gomer? I mean, dad's a prophet, mama's a prostitute. I don't even know what to do with that. And they had 3 kids, and he was told to name them in prophetic fashion. Name him Jezreel for in a little while. I'm going to bring the bloodshed on the house of Jehu. So he was representing bloodshed. That's awesome. Lo Ruhamah, because that means no compassion, because I'm not going to have any compassion. And to see, this is what we don't understand. We can hide behind meanings of names. Oh, hey, Lo Ruhamah, it's time to come to dinner. Okay, that's what we hear. Okay, because we've now mixed the Hebrew and the English. But what if every time you called out to your child, hey, uncompassionate, it's time to come down for dinner. Hey, no compassion, you need to clean your room. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And then you got Lo Ami, not my people. Can you imagine the self-esteem issues this kid must have had? Not my people, not my people, not my people. So, it's just crazy. God asked Hosea to do something weird. And I think at times God asks us to do something weird. And I wonder, how faithful and obedient would we be? How faithful and obedient are we when he asks us to do something weird? Hosea married a prostitute. She left him. She went back to prostitute. Hey, pastor, been missing your wife the last couple of weeks at church. Where is she? Well, she went back to work. Oh, really? Did she get a job? Absolutely. Yeah, she got a job. Well, where's she working? Well, she's up in the red light district. She went back to prostitution. We would totally dismiss anything that followed out of the mouth of that man, wouldn't we? We have no grace. We have no mercy. You're like, well, no, wait a minute. You're supposed to read 1 Timothy 3 and Titus, and you all have to be above reproach, and you've got to lead your family above reproach. And it's true. That's what it says. So what do we do with that? What do we do? Do we dismiss Hosea? Do we now question God? Do we say, hey, well, based on what the New Testament says, Hosea shouldn't even be in the Word of God because he married a prostitute and she went back to prostitute. He couldn't even manage his own household because look at what's going on in his household. How in the world could we ever listen to this man ever again? Hey, he needs to leave. He needs to go back and figure things out, and he just needs to leave the ministry. That's how graceful we are today, isn't it? This is a challenging book when you just look at it from a real perspective. When you look at it, what's going on? What's God asking of Hosea? It's no wonder Israel didn't listen to him. But does that mean God didn't have a message? No. God had a message. Look at Hosea, who goes and marries a prostitute. Look at Hosea, who obeyed God and named his children weird names. Look at Hosea, who went back into the prostitute district, gathered up his wife and brought her home, paid off the pimp, brought her home, said, no, we're not going to do this. You be faithful to me. I'm going to be faithful to you. We can't keep going back to our old ways. Hosea loved her because God told him to. Are we that obedient? How many times do divorces happen because of irreconcilable differences? That's just a coward's way out. Oh, we just have irreconcilable differences. No, you don't. You're both selfish creatures who can't get over yourselves. And so now you've taken that into the marriage bed, and now you don't know what to do because you didn't follow God in the first place. Where's the covenant? Where's the commitment? See, this is what Hosea is challenging us with. This is what God's challenging us with out of Hosea. What's your level of commitment? How committed are you to this? Are you willing to stick it out when God says, I need you to stay in it. I need you to stay in it. That's chapter 3. I mean, okay, he's married her. He's had 3 children with her. Okay, put the timeline together. 3 kids. Okay, that takes a while. At the minimum, we're talking about 3 years. Probably 4 or 5. She goes back. And in Hosea chapter 3, God says, I need you to go get her. I need you to go get her and bring her back. You know, it's one thing to be faithful to God at the beginning. Are we going to stay faithful to God when it gets hard in the middle? And see, that's the hard part, isn't it? That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where it gets tough, because we're going to stay faithful in the middle. God called me to ministry in 1990. And I was licensed in 91. I was ordained in 92. Pastored a small country church part-time in college, went to seminary. Thought I was something, found out I was nothing, and had to realize that that pride and entitlement comes naturally to us, and we have to be careful with that. God allowed me to come back into ministry in 96. I told you that's where we started, in 96. And, you know, it wasn't long, 6 months actually. Growing ministry, tremendous ministry. And then you get misquoted. And in fact, you get something quoted to you that you never said, and things go awry. And there was a misunderstanding. There was miscommunication on the part of some folks. And that's when you get the death threats on your voicemail. And that's back when, you know, we had little cassettes and you had it in the recording and you could play it back and you know, in the scratchiness of the recording. And that's when you get the death threats. We're 6 months in. 6 months in. And God said, stay. I'm like, no, bro, I want out. I want out. Find me someplace. God, move me. God, change. God, get me out of here. We got to stay here. And God said, I want you to stay right there. Gosh. All right. Fine. And we were there 2 more years after that. I had good ministry. Changed the lives of some folks. We got changed in the process. Then God saw fit to move us to our next assignment. Ministry, Christianity, these things aren't always easy. God doesn't call us to easy. He challenges us. And he asks us, what level of obedience are you going to give me today? Are you willing to do something weird if God asks you to do that? Because really, that's where the joy is. The joy is in the obedience of it. God requests, you comply. Joy is yours that day. So what you're telling me is that if I really want the joy of my salvation to be right there on the edge and right there for me to experience it on a regular basis, it takes compliance to the requests of God. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, okay, but you know, what if he wants me to do something weird? Has he asked you to marry a prostitute yet? I don't think it's weird yet. And even if it does get weird, even if it does get hard, our joy is in the compliance to the requests of our sovereign God, who sees yesterday, today, and tomorrow all at the same time. Who better can we follow and trust than somebody who's already seen the path? I was in 4th grade and we lived up in northern Kentucky. and I had a best friend, and his name was Troy, and he's a few years older than I was. We were friends because of proximity to each other, and he lived across a wooded area from me, and he knew the shortcut through the woods, and it had snowed the night before, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come over to the house?" I said, hey. And I asked Mom and Dad, "Hey, can I go to the house?" "Yeah, you can go to Troy's house. That's fine." So he had walked over, and he said, "Okay, follow me." And I hadn't been there very long, and we were walking through the wooded area, and he said, "Step in my steps." I'm like, "Well, you're gonna take shorter steps, bro, because I'm smaller than you, so you got to shorten your stride up." "Oh, that's fine, that's fine." "Step in my steps." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because where you're standing now is 2 feet from a 30-foot drop." I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I grew up here. I've walked this path. I know what to expect. I know where the pitfalls are. I know where you need to walk in order to stay the safest. If you'll follow me, I'll keep you safe, and we're going to have a good time at my house later on." And in essence, that's what God's asking of us every day. I know the path. I know where it goes. Step in my steps, and we'll have joy at my house today. Y'all have a great day.